is a greater, we're coming into a greater heart. And I know that probably many of you are starting to feel how our heart's space is shifting a lot lately. And that can be stressful for some because in some ways, when we have greater capacity to love, we've sort of exercised that muscle to a certain point. So when it starts to stretch, we feel the growing pains of that. And we can think sometimes that things are going wonky, right? When it's really just about to shift into a deeper, more expansive level of our ability to receive and express love and to know love. And so I had this strong urge to really welcome my women to just gather as we sort of crack the code of this new earth awakening. And we're really kind of moving from this third dimensional space, which is polarized with the contrast feelings of love and fear. And it's what we've known for so many lifetimes. So we almost just expect more of the same. But I want to know, and maybe you can let us know in the chat if you know where to find the chat, because sometimes people don't know where the chat is, and don't worry if you don't know where the chat is. But in the chat, are you connecting with any physical feelings in your heart, stretching or sometimes panging or having more tightness or maybe anxiety, but you don't really know what you're anxious about, but you're feeling like you're about to take some really big steps and yet it's sort of formidable in front of you. You're not really sure. You can feel the calling, but it's not exactly clear what you're being called to. Is anyone relating to that?
And Darcy just said, just excitement, she says.
Oh, thank you, Darcy. That's great. Good. And you kind of went through a lot of that maybe earlier. You were in the scouts.
Mhm.
Darcy was scouting on that, maybe last year. Wouldn't you say Darcy's all ready to go now?
And Nicole says, I'm feeling like I want to go faster. I'm just hungry. I want to go deeper, but I get super frustrated
Oh, awesome.
that I'm not progressing.
Okay. That's great. And you might be progressing, but it's like when you're losing weight and you don't really notice, because maybe the pounds haven't changed, but your clothes and your body are, and you're gaining muscle, so you might even be 2 pounds heavier, and then you think, oh, forget it, that diet wasn't working. You go back to eating, and then nothing fits, and you're like, uh-oh, I think that diet was working. I need to try to run back towards the other direction. It's a little confusing what progress looks like sometimes. Anyone else?
Nope, it's all, that's it for now.
I
Oh,
think
Susie
Susie.
says, a few weeks ago, definitely a mixture of heavy heart,
Ah,
uncertainty mixed with excitement.
okay.
Now excitement, watching it unfold. So a lot of the feelings, all the feelings.
And it's interesting because as I start to explore this with you, my instincts kind of draw me back to the Pluto and Aquarius that we're going to be going through for the next 20 years. Susanna just said something too.
She said, I'm relating to everything you were saying, Allie. I'm shifting.
Oh, Susanna, I'm so glad you're here. Perfect timing. So we've got with Pluto and Aquarius, there's that air sign where we want to rise, and we're rising into this more expansive self. But Pluto is death and transformation. And it is a huge, it's impacting all of us because of where it sits in all of our charts as a collective consciousness. So you're going to find endings for what you felt you knew or what you felt you wanted or identities that you felt that you had of yourself. And you're being called to this more expansive heart, which is connected in these vague terms like oneness that, sometimes we're told, well, we're all one or unity consciousness. And as great as that is, it can be confusing when we see such a polarized world, right? And so tonight, I'm Sean will give me some prompts, and I'm doing things a little different on our calls because when I started having Sean anchor the group for me, I can go way farther out in my connection to source. So it'll be really fun for some of you that were working with me last year or 2 years ago, or some of you have been working with me just recently, so you're used to the changes. But I do want to tell you, last was it last year, Sean, that I got the download on the quantum holographic transformation?
Yeah, just about a year ago now.
Yeah, and it's such a heady, I mean, it's almost embarrassing because it has so many words and it's so vague. So you don't really have to. I guess we should probably call it some kind of acronym. But basically tonight I want to invite you to an energy attunement. How many of you are feeling like you're really ready to feel a new level of your, I would say, your quantum self, your larger multidimensional self? How many of you are ready for that?
Yes.
Ah,
Nicole
okay.
says yes.
And Nicole's been, it's
Yes.
fun because Nicole is also had
Mhm.
her feet in. Nice,
Susie,
Susie. Okay,
Susanna,
wonderful.
uber ready, Gigi said.
Oh, okay, okay. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So the changes, the changes that people are making, um, we've seen like miracles. And it's because they were always there waiting for us. Just we didn't have the knowledge of how to use that field of awareness. But that field has always been here for us. It's just as this concept, it's easier for me to just use Eckhart Tolle's concept of the new earth because it really is, it's always been here, but it's sitting in another dimension ready for us to arrive in. People think, oh, like it's coming. It's like, well, you're coming. You're the one that's coming to something that already exists. So how many of you know about timelines? And I'm just going to pour a lot of information into you today. We're going to have a lot of fun with it, and we're going to have a shift. Everyone's going to have some sort of shift because I just haven't seen anyone not have a shift with this yet. So you're not going to be the one that doesn't have it.
And you can
Yes. Can you
communicate
read that
via
out loud?
chat, thumbs up. Yes, great job, guys.
And
Excellent.
what Nicole just said something about timelines. Oh, Gigi just came in. Good, Gigi. You're coming in before the attunement. That's great.
Inform and refresh, she said. Timelines, please.
Okay.
Mm,
So is
yeah.
there anyone that doesn't have an idea of timelines? And it's okay if you don't, but I just want to know how far.
I think a 101 class actually on timelines would be really great, Allie.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, if you were, let's do it super simple.
Mhm.
Um, so if you had many sheets of paper that were all stacked on top of each other, and you took a Sharpie that was really fresh and you put it straight down on the stack of papers, you would permeate all those layers with the ink of the Sharpie. The timelines, your 0 point where your soul is residing in many planes and dimensions, is the ink of that Sharpie penetrating all the different aspects of you. And think of the pieces of paper, the possibilities of in the time space continuum. And this is almost hard to believe, and you don't have to believe it today, but it is how quantum physics does recognize dimensions. That There is almost every possibility to your life happening simultaneously right now. And it makes this work. This work, I didn't get it from anywhere but spirit. You're not going to find it anywhere. I don't know anyone else that does it. It literally is, I'm sharing you my greatest joy, my greatest gift. And that is that you exist in the all space-time continuum. And there's many different pathways that many different healers over time use to describe and how to get into this field, right? And they've been given other ways in, right? So I'm not the only one that knows the way in. This is just a way in, but it's a very easy way in. It's a super, it's it's like Sean was saying, the secret to the secret. It really is. It's just like yoga and going to yoga for the first time and not being naturally limber. You might not be as good at it as you're going to be, but it is the truth of who you are. And it is what your higher self already knows. So those many sheets of paper are the right now moment, but different possibilities that where you put your focus actually taps you into a different outcome. So, one way to think of it is in my life, there's the I got married, right? And then, what if I didn't get divorced? And what if I never got married? And what if I um, didn't want to get married and travel the world? What if I didn't want to get married and had 12 children? It's all of these possibilities are basically happening right now. And it's a way that the soul has no judgment. It's why we don't want to judge others depending on our personal perception. The only thing that is real is what you're seeing for you. None of us are having the same perception of this world as you are. And it's based on what you're seeing is based on the culmination of all your beliefs across time that have created a magnetic attraction to line up all your experiences. A dear friend was about to have a experience that they needed to make a very important choice yesterday, and they had told me, but this is always what happens. And I'm like, it's always what you know to have created. Let's create a different hologram. She said, oh, it's just my hologram that I have to change. I'm like, just your hologram. Change how the world is going to receive you in this situation and change it right now. And she's like, I get it. I can do that. And she texted me back and she said, I can't believe that I repeatedly had that same exact problem that I developed a phobia, right? Because when I switched the hologram to being received in a different way into these situations, then all of a sudden it was so fast that I can't remember having a situation like that anymore. And I have to tell you, 3 people yesterday I worked with told me the same general thing. They all had situations. So there's something that's lightning fast that's happening in our now moment that 3 of my clients all had similar choices to change their hologram. And all of them were successful and had completely different outcomes than they've ever had. So I want you tonight, I was really focused on self perception because we've just kind of gone through a collective consciousness experience of love, right? And so Some people had a really amazing Valentine's Day with a partner. Some people had a really amazing Valentine's Day celebrating themselves. Some people had a horrible, loss-ridden Valentine's Day. Some people had an amazing Valentine's Day because their children loved them. Some people had their parents love them, right? There's so many different, but it is when we're all focused on a common goal, even if it's negative, right? Um, but something like the aspect of love, it's kind of like when you take thousands of people to think about not having crime in Washington, D.C. for a certain time period of a day or so. Every time that's happened with thousands of meditating people, they've had the lowest numbers of crime in those areas ever. So even when we have a day of love like this, there's a collective shift, and we're really close if we can turn our own timeline into openness. It's a great time to attune yourself because collective thought has been thinking about love. Choose the timeline that's the most self-loving for you. You're going to have a different experience with connection in general. And it doesn't have to be romantic and it doesn't have to involve somebody else. It can just be you. But for today, I wanted to really celebrate a new awareness of our own presence in our bodies, in our spirit, and our awareness of self. And I want to bring you into a holographic shift where your personal hologram that you're creating through your thoughts and feelings, it has a kinetic, magnetic frequency that has been repeating itself on some level for a long time. Even if you've had some big shifts, there's going to be a tendency for that frequency to lean in a certain direction. But tonight, if you can just accept that you've been in the frequency that you have been, but tonight we're going to focus on turning that volume up into a more self-present, meaningful awareness, then you're going to notice that how you reside in your body is different. And how you build your new life from today forward is different. And yes, you had that same opportunity for a decision 3 minutes ago and 4 hours ago and yesterday. But today we're really going to focus on what that feels like. And one thing that Sean always reminds me, I forget that I say this, but I say it a lot, is I want to encourage you to remember to ask for more than you know to ask for. We know we want to feel certain things, but amplify that with this or better, this or better, this or more. Because no matter how much you think you know what you want, you're still human and you're still in the third dimensional plane of contrast. And we pop into fourth dimension and we pop into fifth dimension and we pop into these upper frequencies. But ultimately, as we're embodied in this physical reality, we are 3D humans, and we want to be able to really enjoy that we chose to be here. And there's so much talk about the ascension. And if you haven't come across it, you're going to as you get on your spiritual journey. But it's in a way not, sometimes there's a naiveness about the ascension mentality. You didn't come here to be anything other than what you are. You came here to be in 3D. Enjoy it. Enjoy that this is the material plane. We in a lot of generational lineage stuff have also been taught, to not want things or not create things, but your deepest creation can have physical form, right? You want that artistry, you want to create. You chose to be human so you could create. And to see that creation bear fruit. And that might be feelings and it might be things. And it might be relationships and it might be people and it might just be experiences with nature. So tonight, as we're doing our attunement, really be aware that your feeling body is exactly where it's supposed to be. At whatever dial the intensity is resting at, even if it seems like it's hardship, right? That is your greatest teacher in this moment. So feel it. You don't have to stay there, but feel it. Feel it, understand it, get to know it. Trying to pop out of your feelings before you've learned your lessons is driving you crazy and it's making you erratic, right? And how many times are people trying to tell you, well, go here, be this or do that? No, no, don't. Don't. Just be right here with me. Be right here with me, exactly how things are. And let your body talk to you and let your spirit talk to you and let your heart talk to you and converse with those feelings because then when you really feel it, you can actually more effectively change the frequency, expand it, and do something with it. So let's give it a try. And is there anything that anybody wants me to focus on that you feel intuitively needs to be a part of this self-love attunement? And just feel free to share it with Sean and she'll put it together for me because I'm not checking chat.
And Allie, I really feel like some context, you've said it in many different ways, but some context around the law of resonance within and how that ref interacts with how we shift our hologram. So there's really a scientific understanding of that before we go in that direction.
So are you kind of asking me to share about how we feel and what those feelings are? Because
Yeah,
so
yeah.
so there's density to emotions.
Mhm.
Does everybody know that? So you do in your feeling, right? Even if you didn't talk about it before or nobody shared, your intuitive heart knows what it's a really good reply is. I feel heavy today. I feel weighted down. My heart feels heavy. But we had a lot of miracles today at the hospital. I mean, it's a miracle I'm on this call right now. Um, we knew I was going to make it, but we just didn't know. So if some of you were texting me before, and if I was late to reply, it's because we didn't expect to be in the hospital with my dad. But it's fine, and it worked out. But I got in by the hair on my chinny chin chin. I took a picture of the hospital because Sean didn't know, and I was like, I'm here, and I'm supposed to be there. So it was one of the miracles, though. And my mom, we got the best doctor ever because we had this really weird experience. We in all the years we've been Kaiser members, we have never, but I just said to myself, we are going to get the best care ever. We got the best care ever, and it was so good that it was making us stay a long time because my dad had a lot of cancer, and we've always gotten blown off. We haven't gotten help. They've just let those cancer sores get worse and worse and worse, and I've been tending to them naturally, and I've had a lot of good luck. But it's amazing because we got expert care, we got top-notch care, and I was supposed to be on this call in a few minutes. And yet I knew for me this frequency is the Holy Spirit, right? We all have different words. So use your language. It could just be science, it could be other religions, doesn't matter. But for me, this intelligence experience of love is so clear. And so that is what we're talking about frequency is that be available to understand that there is a frequency to feelings and there if you can start to get very intimate with knowing how those resonate, the resonance of those frequency of feelings in your body, where do they resonate in your body? And so what Sean's trying to say in one way is there's a frequency there. That's why these sign machines, the Rife machine, They're so amazing at eradicating disease or changing things in the mental emotional body. There's a frequency to emotions, and it resonates at sometimes a slower or a faster pace. And you don't need to become an expert on what that means. She's just reminding me to remind you to pay attention to how that resonates within you. And when you feel heaviness, there's also like a slower molasses kind of, it's like, and then when you're in an effervescent frequency, you're going to find that there's more oxygen in the room for you, right? You can breathe better, you can move better, your body is more fluid. And scientifically, maybe there's descriptions for this, but emotionally, when you know how to manage your feelings, when you know how to pay attention, when you know how to let them speak to you, and you know that they're coming through your body at a certain kind of like particle and wave feeling, really is what it is. And I think I remember Susie was in a class. Susie's on the call tonight. She was in a class. Susie, do you remember when you had like that aha moment once on our call? You literally came into it and you brought it to work. And then the next day, all of your patients were like, you were different. Do you remember that? Because I will never forget that. And I remember you feeling the incredible lightness of being from that shift. And it's available to us all the time, but it's available to us because of what we're going to do tonight. We're going to come back into that heart center. And I do love the womb center, which is a more rooted. So, depending on what you're going through, someone on the call mentioned that they were feeling something in their womb space. When I bring up the heart, go ahead and bring it down into your rooted, more the roots of who you are and your deeper center in your womb, your belly, your lower belly. Susie, here she is. Sean, will you tell us what she said?
Yeah, Susie said, I was able to tap into it and finally notice the positive effects. And
Yes.
yeah, and BB has a great, this is great. She said fear resonates about 57 hertz, which is the scientific piece, and
Thanks, Biba.
yeah, love resonates at 540. And
I
that was,
think 528, actually.
I
I
think
think it's
yeah, somewhere in
528 or
that,
so.
the
Yeah. But
exact
I mean, it's that or
frequency.
higher, right?
Yeah, so there's a big, and Nicole's question right before that, before we get into the activation, was how do we hold our frequency when everyone is in fear and we're in love? And I think,
Great question.
yeah,
Fantastic question to start with. Nicole, you're spot on. So, breath. Breath is your way in. It really is. And so tonight, that's going to be our way in. And I'm also, and it really is happening. I'm going to work on your body distant, and I actually can do it as a group. So you're going to feel a group activation. So I'm going to get quiet at times when I'm doing the prompts and just let me attune while you use your breath to expand. And so we're going to first start. Is everybody ready first? Just to make sure. Give us a thumbs up.
everybody's good. Yep.
If you have any fear or anxiety, just even talking about this, just thank it for sharing.
Mm.
Because sometimes we're just in overwhelm. It could be a million different things. You could have just a lot going on in your life. Or some people just think, oh my gosh, like this is so deep. I'm not ready to go this deep. Just say, oh, thank you for feeling. I'm just interested in feeling good. I'm not going to do anything that doesn't feel good. Okay. So anytime you meet resistance in your body tonight, tell your body, thank you so much. Now we're going to move forward. Or I hear you and we'll work with you here, but we're going to be doing this. It's just the body's been protecting you from yourself for a long time. And we have a million different reasons why it does that. but we don't have to get mad at it all the time. And we don't have to think we're behind the eight ball all the time when it's acting up or being a brat or that inner child is tantruming. Just go, okay, okay, well, just stay with it as much as you can. Tell yourself, you know, and keep a light heart. So we're gonna just start to breathe in no particular fashion. Some of you will be nose breathers. Some of you will be mouth breathers. Some of you have extensive breathing experience, and some of you are just glad if you exhale. So just drop into a general sense of you. And I want you to pay attention to any colors that might be coming up for you at this time. Good. That was good. Nice. And now expand that and allow the one color or the many to show themselves because they all have frequency. And each of those colors represents something. Ooh, red and blue. Interesting. That's actually, Biba just said red and blue, and I just want to speak to red and blue is actually masculine and feminine. So that's the ultimate is we really want to blend our right and left sides of the body um, through the spine. And there's a lot of different cultures that have different names for that, like the Eden, the Pingales, the traditional Kundalini, right? But in general, most cultures, most ancient cultures have the awareness that you're going to have the left side of the body as the feminine and the right as the masculine. And that seems to be no matter throughout time and throughout location geographically, people understand that that's true. So we all have that blending in our body and we're looking to harmonize that. But the colors that come to you might be different. They might be representing love or fear or joy or harmony, inspiration, exploration. So you might see all the colors of the rainbow. You know, some of you won't believe in this and some of you do, but there's other existences. So you might have galactic selves. You know, and that might be a little too far out for you, but there's a lot of people here that are very acquainted with that part of themselves, and I want to speak to it that you might just have other perceptions. And there's also people who are nature people that also might feel that the fairy realm, the nature spirits. So just know that as you expand color and feelings and sounds, whether they're actually there or not in the awareness frequency you are as a human, let the orchestra life and experiences start to play. You might suddenly say, oh my gosh, Ellie, my body just became sparkly blue, right? Let allow and accept right now and just hear those words. I am more than I knew myself to be. I am more than I know myself to be. And I am more than I am becoming in this awareness to be on all planes, on all levels, and all dimensions, and just breathe. And just notice that that exhale is bringing you back to yourself. And just inhale a little bit longer. Exhale a little bit stronger. There you go. And start with a feeling of why am I here tonight? I didn't invite very many people. I have so many contacts, but I just invited the people that came to my heart for this experience. So I don't know exactly why I did, except for that spiritually, we're supposed to connect in this way in this now moment. And I'm so glad that you're here. And so thank your body and your mind and your spirit for just showing up for you. And as you become more equipped with integrating those three things, I want you to bring your busy mind down to your heart, to your feeling heart. Ah, good. That's not always easy for people. I'm going to say that again. Some of you did it right away. I want you to bring your feeling hearts to this open, open place and let the busy mind drop down into it like a drop of water into the ocean of oneness. Drop of water into the ocean of oneness. Ah, I am so ready. And I want you to call all the parts of yourselves, whatever capacity that you have to understand that, doesn't matter. But just call all the pieces and parts to yourself. Some of them will be traumas that you are ready to integrate. Some of them will be other dimensional selves. Some of them will be past lives, but just call all your parts and pieces. I call all my parts and pieces back to myself in this now moment to be healed, to remember who I am, and to be in a moment of complete awareness and acceptance that however I'm showing up is the right way to be for right now. And I accept myself unconditionally. I accept myself unconditionally. And notice your hands kind of fall open in this now moment. And you can bring them into the mudra hands if that's what happens naturally. For some of you, it will, and some of you, it won't. Just depends on your history. There you go. And notice that your breath wants to breathe now from your belly space. That your heart and your head are really safe and they just want to feel all of themselves. And so they just drop like another plop, like a big droplet of water into the ocean of oneness. And catch your breath in. Ah, there you go. Ah. And notice that there is a distinct change in what you are feeling as if you've entered a new energy space. And that shift is a more togetherness of your parts and pieces. And that's going to show itself different to all of you. Yes, assurance. Very nice. That's a great word, Biba. And safety. And actually an interesting word I've never used is reliability. You can rely on your spirit, your soul, to be connected to your divine essence, to your prime creator essence, that you were created to feel all your parts and pieces, and including this very mundane 3D reality where you're a human. But I want you to imagine like a light bright set, all the places, all the switches in your genes, in your epigenetics. We call them your gene ILs, right? They're your genes that make up you. I want you to say yes to any of the genes that need to be switched back on, that sometimes they get switched off because of traumas. So say yes to all the systems that have been shut down. Sometimes our body produces too much cortisol, right? Because of trauma. So switch back on your adrenals to work perfectly, right? Switch on your lymphatic system to carry the nutrients to your cells and take the trash out. There you go. Switch on your circulation to bring the oxygen to your body. And then on a very more minute cellular level, turn off all the genes that might have gotten turned on that are of dis-ease to your body. Turn them off. Flip, 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 flip. There's no fear controlling your genes at this time. Anything you don't need goes off. Anything you do need goes on, and you're going to let your higher self work the switchboard. You don't even have to know, but you are in control. Your free will is in control of how this switchboard's going to work right now. So say yes to your health. Say yes to feeling connected to life. Say yes to your passion and purpose, and notice how you're changing and how this is related to your self-love. That this is exactly what you needed, is to remember who you are. There you go. Now just breathe. Just breathe. And I'm going to give you an energetic upgrade. There you go. Just breathe. And feel maybe some sadnesses might be turning on. Just because as you start to heal things, sometimes they're so wanting to be identified. Just say, okay, thanks for sharing. There you go. See how fast that changed? Oh my gosh. And then also like the racehorse, the jumpy racehorse that's ready to go, like Nicole was talking about. Say, okay, okay. You're gonna get that chance tonight. I'm going to let you out of the gate tonight. But just let it build for a minute more as I reconnect your matrix. It kind of looks like a geodome. You know how Metatron's cube, the flower of life, we have this intersecting triangle that is a fifth dimensional triangle. So it's the inner and the outer triangles connecting. Some people call it the triangle of union, the masculine and the feminine intersecting. There you go. And just feel as we tune you up, feel your love also tuning others up. Not knowing how you're doing it, but that you're just sharing receivership. We're sharing receivership of divine love. And as you expand, you are actually tuning up your sisters, the sisters you didn't even know you had, that are all here tonight, and the ones that really need to be here that didn't get the memo, right? Either they didn't get invited or they couldn't come. But either way, they're here with us and we're tuning up. And they're really focusing, Spirit's really focusing on women. It doesn't mean that men don't matter. It just, for some reason, the divine feminine is really, she's coming forward like a wave that's building. And that's the frequency that's calling us forward tonight. So we hold space for the masculine, we hold space for our own masculine. But if it's been overly active within you, ask it to chill out. Because the feminine needs to come forward. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. My dad kept shutting my mom down in the car tonight. That's kind of like what they're talking about, is how the masculine in us drives things so hard, our inner directive, that we don't let the feminine have a voice. And I told my pops, I'm like, Dad, there is an expiration date on you controlling mom speaking, and it actually is right now. It expired. Not allowed to shut her down anymore. The alley's in the house. And that is really what we're saying to every part of ourselves that has gotten too strong. Like where we haven't been led rightly by the masculine, where we've had to overwork, we had to overshare, we had to overgive, we had to lay on the altar, or our mothers did, or our mothers' mothers did, right? because it was a different time of the balance of the masculine and feminine on the planet. And the Yuga cycle is showing us very clearly within our bodies tonight she wants to rise. And she will not be shut down, but she doesn't have to fight for it. She is. You just have to be, you just have to allow. So open up every part of you that worked too hard, and every part of you that sacrificed yourself too much, that thought nobody was going to get forward, nobody was going to get fed enough, taken care of enough, things weren't going to get done unless you borrowed that inner directive from the masculine. And, thank it. I'm glad you have such strong masculine guidance in you. It just doesn't have to continue to express itself with the kind of force that squashes your feminine. Tonight, allow your feminine to be quietly rising within you as a warmth, as sensuality. And the elusive self love that we're always trying to grasp like a moonbeam that just constantly is popping out of our hands as soon as we move, it moves. It is within this acceptance that you have to stop trying and you have to allow yourself to start being. And we're so good at trying and we're so good at serving that in some ways we overbuilt that muscle. And I'm just going to ask you, as if you were looking at a beautiful mid century radio that just has a dial from 1 to 10, I'm going to ask you to just turn that from 10 down to 1, and I want you to click it off. I want you to feel that click. And I want you to take the dial of any place in your life that you had to prove yourself too much. I don't care what it was. Doesn't matter. The story doesn't matter. Why you had to do it doesn't matter. Just you did it, and it created this schism. So just if there's a million dials that show up for you that you weren't expecting, let them telepathically click off. If there's just one, click it off. And the off is equal sign to 0 point. Okay. Any excess, click it off and then rest in the neutral 0 point energy. What is 0 point, Allie? 0 point means no charge, no masculine, no feminine, just emptiness, just nothing, the great void. And you're like, oh, but there's nothing there. What will I do? What can I create? Everything. But you have to return to start. You have to go back to the Monopoly board. You don't have to what is it? You don't have to collect $200. You don't have to go to jail. Just return to start. And you'll feel like part of you might feel disappointed that it's not going to be acknowledged by the self, that you work so hard and you don't want to feel like you wasted all that time, right? Because I always want to prove to myself that I did all that work for something. It wasn't all for naught, right? I want to think that there's so many times I've made and lost money, and I'm like, oh, I'm back at zero. Or so many times I've created something and then, oh, like a relationship. Oh, gosh, that wasn't a good idea. And I think it wasn't all for naught because it's hard. It's hard to go back after risking and taking a chance to try, but turn it to zero now. Trust me on this. I always thought empty was boring. I always thought, why do they want to be in emptiness? What's there? I want to be here with all of my art supplies, all my gems, all of my crystals, all my oracle cards. Nope, just go to zero. And if it helps you, take a big breath in and just make your energy really big. Turn it into a big ball of like water drop. And then allow yourself to plop it down through your crown and feel it gently, gently, like a feather, drop down to your heart and drop down to your womb and drop down, down, down through your body to the center of the earth and become one with your center mother, your inner earth. Ah, I feel you there. This molten, fiery ball of possibility. It is here that the great transformation for tonight is going to take place. Let yourself be like how gold is purified, right? I don't know very much about the Bible. Some of you know much more on the call than I do. There's one thing I know. Through the fire, gold is purified. Let all your impurities, let them seep out, let them dissolve, let them turn into smoke outside of that bubbling, beautiful, orange, yellow, red, molten, transformational fire. And feel your body get warm and not in a hot flash way, right? In a warm way, a transmutable way, a liquefied, ready to be something new way. Let it happen. And breathe that in and receive that goodness. Receive that which you are. There you go. Yes, let that breath come back to you. Now we're going to start to spiral this gold, right? And what it really is liquid metal. So within that is your platinum ray and your gold ray. But let it start from the very center of your earth, your inner planetary rootedness of your center being, your imagination as you grounded and centered within Mama Earth. Start to let yourself spiral. And let it start to rise from the core of the earth, just like a sprout gathers its roots and anchors itself and pushes through the earth, the soft, welcoming, wet earth, and push yourself through as a grounded being of whatever spirit shows you that you are. If it's a tree, if it's a human, if it's a glittery being of light, it doesn't matter because you're all that in some time space continuum. Let yourself be imaginative. And I want you to push out into the atmosphere and rise out into the cosmos, into what you perceive as Father Sky. And feel all the possibilities, all the dimensional possibilities, whether you believe in a round earth or a flat earth, it doesn't matter. Just feel creation, the many timelines of it, the other planetary pieces to it, the moons, the stars, the planets, everything that exists in creation. And know that you're part of that too. And feel how clean it is. There's no heaviness of not being enough or not loving yourself enough or any identity of you. There's this beautiful, clean connection of possibility, right? Possibility feels wonderful. And just say, okay, I'm in the all that is creation. And I came from the possibilities of the dark, fiery mother, that void from which all possibilities are born, right? And now you're floating around in the creation of what has been created. Come back to earth as you know yourself to be. And whatever the earth looks like, allow it to be. But find yourself in a very safe environment, be it forest, desert, meadow, underwater cave, ocean, beach. There you go. And I want you to take your right hand in this body that you're in, and I want you to lift up your right hand, floor it in your imagination, floor to ceiling. Lift up your hand physically right now and breathe. And then we're going to create a hologram. And in this hologram, I want you to allow any feelings of curses, words you have said against yourself, unkindnesses that maybe other people said, but you heard them through your own ears as your belief system, and you allowed them to become real. I want you to bring them up in that hologram right now. And I want you to see it on the screen. And you might not see the exact word, but you might see words are there, and you might see words you don't like, and you might feel that words are there that you don't know that they're there. And I don't care what they look like, what they feel like. All we know is they're curse words. And let them bleed out of your body through this hologram, and not as blood. Let them seep out of any place that you have taken it on as a truth that is untrue. And mostly you'll find that it is what you've told yourself to be based on possibly other people's perceptions or needs. But you took them on, and so it's you with you right now. It's your hologram. And look at it. Not in a self-punishing way, in a very neutral way. Like the glass broke all over the floor, you see it, and now it's got to be swept up. And that's exactly what we're going to do. So I want you to allow it to not be a hologram, which is going to look like kind of a mirage. It's going to become a poster, an actual solid piece of paper. And I want you to pull it down, and I want you to rip it up, but I don't want you to do anything with those pieces. You let them fall to the floor. They're not your concern. Just rip them up and let them go. And claim your power back as they drop. And these are the violations against your body. These are the violations against your mind. These are the violations against your spirit. The violations against your emotional body, your psychological body, your philosophical body. Any part of the timelines of possibilities that do not serve you, you're releasing now. And thank them for the lessons that they brought. And with your left hand, as all those pieces fall away, with your left hand, pull up a new screen. But notice how much easier this is because we've gotten rid of the stories that don't belong in your psyche. And your left hand is going to bring the feminine part of your spirit forward. Any part of your feminine that has not been expressed in a way that serves your experience in any form, any of the timelines, it doesn't serve your experience. It doesn't serve your imagination. It doesn't serve the glory. Glory, yeah, I use that word. The glory of you. You are glorious. Bring it forward. It might have some limitations because it's something you're getting to know, but let it at least be seated here in this hologram, because this is a living hologram. And it might look like a chia seed right now. It might look like little poppy seeds right now. It might look like a tomato seed that has that like layer around it that you can't penetrate. I don't care. You might not be able to really feel it. It might be like a tomato seed, but it's still getting planted. Because one thing we can trust about the hologram is it's real. And all you have to do is water it with feeling. That's all you have to do is water it with feeling. So be willing to seed it with the resonance of frequency. That's your water. The resonant frequency of exhilaration, the resonant feeling of joy, the resonant feeling in your body of happiness, the resonant feeling of contentment, of anticipation. Add all your adjectives, inspiration, love, sensuality, sexuality, that joyful giving heart, that generous spirit. It's all here for you. And imagine that those seeds look like something to this part of your imagination and plant them in the most fertile soil of this living hologram that is going to be birthed today. And you'll text us and say, "Oh my gosh, you wouldn't believe it, what came out of that call that you randomly invited me on." But we will, because we're doing the work. We're working with people and we're seeing miracles, and we know the world is ready for this. You are ready for this to be real for you, so claim it. But it's going to come first through this living hologram that represents not elusive self-love. You'll see there's no moonbeams here. This is a mirage that has depth, it has color, it has the frequency of you. It's you, but it's the you that you trust. It's the you that you believe in. It's the you that is faithful to your passion and your purpose. So say yes. That's all you have to do is say yes and be with your breath right now. Say yes and be with your breath right now. Let your body change and lift and lighten. Say yes and be with your breath at this time. This to me is holy breath. This is your most holy breath, because holiness to me is connection to the highest form of you and your highest form of expression of whatever prime creator is for you. And it's intelligent and it innervates every molecule in your body. And you are alive, in this hologram now moves into your physical aura presence. And you didn't have to step to it. It stepped to you. So now we're going to seal that up. Breathe. I'm going to use your breath, your agreement with yourself. I'm going to use that. I don't want you to have to do it for yourself, because sometimes we just need to be fed. We need to be, it's when our sisters brush our hair or someone gives us a massage, just receive. It's not because you can't do it. It's because I want to give this to you. I want you to just receive. You're just receiving you, but don't lift a finger. And just be in the joy of your own magnificence. And slowly come back into your body, because this hologram is alive. It is real. And it only has your pure goodness and your wonder and your light and your endless, eternal imagination that you came to create here, with all of your beautiful imaginings of what you want to play with your tools and your art. There's nothing artificial about this intelligence. This is the true Holy Spirit that you are because it is pure, it is clean, and it is beyond anything we would know to describe to you, except for that it comes from divinity, it comes from the Most High. And whatever words you use in your belief system for something that is creating you that wants to make more of itself, claim it now and open your eyes. You are here in this incredible new sense of self that will continue to develop. It will continue to tell you its story, and it will continue to move through you to awaken all the hearts that you are connected to in any way on this planet. And it will deliver you in every way to your passion and your purpose. And so it is.
And so it is. Thank you, ladies, for joining. And we can't wait to see you on the next call. So, till the next time, we love you and have a beautiful evening.
We're so glad you came.
Mhm.
Many blessings. Good night.
Good night.